The details. You talk with players now, and if I throw back to my days, if you did a few set pieces on a Friday morning, you'd okay, there's the corners, who's taking corners today? Okay, him, and then maybe you'd do a few set pieces. You never, ever talked about defending a throw-in. That would never come into the equation, but obviously now you have to be able to deal with that. And all the different set pieces you have now, Ashley, you have to obviously have a level of intelligence to understand what each one means and where you're going to be standing as well, because if you get it wrong, you're going to let the team down.
Yeah, of course there is, and you could be a team that goes for it 3-4 times a week.
Is that how many times you'll do it? Yeah,
I think that's what. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away. But, it's one of the things. Set pieces are crucial now.
Yeah.
Whether that's defending them, whether that's attacking them as well. So there's so much that goes into it with set piece coaches now, and they have the different routines. One week you could be doing something totally different to another week. So players now have to switch on so much to work out what it is, whether you're attacking, whether you're defending. Of course, Thomas Franks was massive on set piece at Brentford. So, I'm sure he's taken that into Tottenham and worked on it non-stop. And when you put the ball on the money, you get the rewards from it.
And that's the key. They're putting the ball on the. I mean, the two deliveries for those two Tottenham corners are absolutely on the money.
And that's what you need. You need the set piece taken to put them on the money, and that's worked on. And that's all throughout the week you'll be taking corners and. With the different things where a set piece coach is making sure you put it exactly where the boys are going to attack it, and you can see that exactly. That's what has been worked on throughout the week. That they've got ones that are going back post, they've got some that are going onto the goalkeeper. There's all different routines that you're going to go through, and like you say, if the execution is right with a set piece taker. You've got
you can certainly take a free kick as well on corners. So even you're still. How old are you now, Ash?
I'm 40.
40. You can still got a couple of years now.
Now you're still young in this studio, Ashley. Still young.
The days of if you've got a keeper that can't command his area, he's going to be in big trouble in the future if it carries on at this trajectory. Defensively, you're going to be picking teams that have height in it, or at least can jump. It doesn't mean because you're tall, because it doesn't mean you're going to be good in the air, but it's certainly a big advantage. Like you mentioned, physicality. These are the details. I mean, it has got to that level, and I've got no problem with it. I think the game now needs it. I think sometimes we have to be careful we don't let data run the game completely, and that's a big part of the game is having that imagination, shooting from outside the box. I've heard Thomas talk about not liking players shooting from outside the box. Personally, I think there's never been a better time to shoot from outside the box. The ball moves so well, the pitches are perfect, but there are elements that I absolutely love. When the clubs like Brentford that take it to another level, and what Keith Andrews is doing there, and Arsenal obviously embraced it. And we look at Arsenal and you think, well, they're a club that have obviously got fantastic players, and sometimes there's a bit of snobbery that goes alongside long throws and corners, but you have to embrace it now, Ashley.
Yeah, of course you do. And like you're saying, it's becoming more and more part and parcel of football, the set pieces. And like you say, you've got set piece coaches in pretty much every team now, and they've got a massive job to play, and they do a massive job throughout the week to make sure the players are prepped and ready for when the games come around. So, I think that this is the way that football's going, that, set pieces are becoming a massive part of what teams are doing now. And like you say, the Arsenals, teams previous years, you wouldn't have said Arsenal teams were, set piece, a massive set piece threat like they are now. And, many goals that they've scored have come from set pieces. So, it's massively important in football now, and
but
I think it's going to continue as well.
I suppose the question, Ashley, is, and bearing in mind your career has spanned 20 plus years now. The question really is, at what point did it go away?
And why did it?
Why did it go away?
Well, I think that you go back to even long throws. Tony Pulis with Rory Delap, he was the one that first started, and I think that then went out of football. And like you say, why did it? Well, I think it was, like you say, a bit of snobbery. People saying, "Oh, Stoke are just a set piece team," whereas now you look and you think, how many teams are now scoring from set pieces and taking long throws and getting the ball in the box? Nobody's really looking at it as like a snobby way. So, it's who knows when it went out and when it's come back in. But if it's working for top teams, then I think a lot of teams are going to carry on doing it.
It brings back bad memories for me, because I played with Rory Delap at Southampton. And we didn't even know we had a long throw, and to add to it, we had 6'7" Peter Crouch. We could have stayed up. I blame the manager. It's my dad.
But the point being, around then, it's not like everybody suddenly thought, "Oh yeah, we can deal with Rory Delap's long throw," and therefore people tried to stop doing it because teams got used to dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's always been.
I think there's an element of snobbery. glory. I think that's what it is now. And I think with coaches and set-piece coaches becoming, it's not just a fashion, it's here. So you don't look back and you never have felt, years ago, we talk about some of the great iconic managers, sort of Alex Ferguson with years. I want to thank my set-piece coach. He made a point there of thanking Andreas George because he knows he's done a great job today and really appreciate what he's done. And that's just the way the game's gone. It's here to stay, and there'll be another edge next year. We look at even if the way every team or 99% of teams when you watch the Premier League or throughout the leagues. Even at kick-off now, they get the ball, they pass it back to the goalkeeper. You see a little bit of sort of NFL blocking, and they boot it up the pitch. Managers and coaches, a lot of them are, without being disrespectful, a bit like sheep. They follow each other and that becomes a fad. There'll be something else. Someone else all of a sudden will go, OK, let's not pass it back to the keeper, let's play it wide quickly, and all of a sudden you can get across into the box, which Brentford used to do really well last year. So you're always trying to find an edge, and that's where the stats guys, analytics, that's all part of the game now.
I think that's what's come in more and more of, stats has been talking about set-piece coaches. And, I think if we go back years, there wasn't set-piece coaches at all. They've become more and more popular because, like you say, that one manager's got a set-piece coach in. Oh, this is the new norm now, so everyone's going to start getting set-piece coaches. You see people scoring from it, so of course you're going to do more and more set pieces. So like it is, people do follow people in certain ways, and I think that's why we're seeing more and more set-piece coaches out there.
But at times, say when you were starting out, were your set pieces kind of generic or off the cuff a little bit more? Because presumably somebody would have been coaching set pieces, just not called. They would have just been a coach.
I think at times the set piece coaches were actually goalkeeping coaches, and at times they were the ones that would deal with the set pieces. And at times you'd go into training and you'd have different routines, but it wasn't highlighted like it is now. Whereas you've got set piece coaches that will take players away that are starting in teams and work on it 3-4 times a week, whereas back then it was, maybe on a Friday morning you'd work out, right, we're going to do this set piece on tomorrow, and then come the following week it was totally different.
Yeah, so
I mean,
true.
the other slightly odd thing in all of this is if you've got set piece coaches, then you should be able to defend them as well as you're attacking them, and yet more goals are being scored from them. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do get. But on the flip side, Spurs, I think, have only conceded one this year. Man City
and Everton
Spurs
actually haven't conceded any here
exactly.
until today.
So they're very good in that respect. But what Ashley's saying is spot on. If you haven't got it or you're not doing it, you look like you're a bit of a dinosaur as a coach. You have to follow these trends because of the set pieces and the corners and the throw-ins. And that's why throw-ins are so hard to stop, because you can't, that first contact, you can never get it away as far as you can, from a corner. So the ball is always in the box. It makes it more difficult to defend. And that's why having Danso in your team, who's got an enormous throw, is worth having. It's a great advantage.